Hello everyone, this is Goosebumps Godzilla, and today I'm going to be talking about how there are multiple King Jellyjam in the Goosebumps universe. So viewer beware, you're in for a scare, and let's get started with the video. Okay, so in the Horror at Camp Jellyjam classical reprint, King Jellyjam's, I guess you could say, origins is that he was created by some camper who I guess went to Camp Jellyjam, and he accidentally left a cup of purple gelatin inside a radiation-filled cave. And so this created what we know as King Jellyjam. So basically, if you don't know who King Jellyjam is, he's basically this purple blob with a crown on his head that basically has the power to mind control other people. And he's pretty powerful overall. His one weakness, though, is that he stinks really bad, and so he has people he has to have people constantly wash him, and so if they stop washing him, though, he will die. So he started, I guess, mind controlling counselors at this camp called Camp Jellyjam, and then he, started working his way up. So the counselors would trick the children and start washing them for their entire lives, and so yeah, that's pretty much all that happens in sort of the whole plot for the 33rd Goosebumps book, The Horror at Camp Jellyjam, which has King Jellyjam's first appearance. I strongly recommend The Horror at Camp Jellyjam. It's a really good book. But anyway, so what happens if there's more to King Jellyjam's, origins? Because it's kind of strange, honestly, for me, that King Jellyjam was just created when a camper left purple gelatin inside a radiation-filled cave. First off, the fact that the place would probably be blocked off. Because basically, I guess when they built Camp Jellyjam and had children's camp or something, they would have to have someone survey the area, I would bet. Just to see what's going on there, trying to see if it's a safe place, all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure someone would notice that there's a radiation-filled cave in the middle of a children's camp. So there has to be signs or something blocking the entrance to a radiation-filled cave. So I'm kind of surprised how this camper would, go past all these warning signs, go inside a radiation-filled cave to put in and accidentally leave some purple gelatin behind. Who knows, he might be like a daring person, he might be dared to go in there or something like that. But why the purple gelatin? That is weird that he would bring in purple gelatin to, go inside a radiation-filled cave. That really doesn't make sense. So I would have to say that this kid, whoever this is possibly mind-controlled to begin with, because it's so strange that he just so happens to go inside a radiation-filled cave that most likely would be blocked off, and also just so happens to have purple radiation that would create what we know as King Jellyjam. He would have to be mind-controlled by someone else, or be mind-controlled by a previous King Jellyjam. And so that's pretty much my theory for today. And that is that there was an original King Jellyjam. And basically, he was a lot smarter, I guess, than the one that we would see in the Horror Camp Jellyjam, even though this one's pretty much smart, very, very smart. But basically, my theory is that this original King Jellyjam started Camp Jellyjam, but then he split his body parts all across the world, so then I guess King Jellyjams could rule the world. I know it's a little out there. There is some evidence to back this up. And the first thing is, how could King Jellyjam survive when he was first created? So it said he was created inside a radiation-filled cave. And it's just kind of strange how he could survive inside the radiation-filled cave. I think in the Horror at Camp Jellyjam, he was still inside the radiation-filled cave when he died. So he clearly died of his own stench inside the cave. So the cave's not blocking off anything that makes him, get destroyed or anything like that. Or die of his own stench. And so I'm not really sure how he survived during that time. I honestly do not believe there was any hoses or anything to wash himself off with in the book, so how did he manage to survive? And so that would probably mean that the counselors at the camp were already mind controlled, and that would include the camper. These people were already mind controlled to do King Jellyjam's bidding, and so that was actually a piece of the King Jellyjam. And also there's evidence to prove that there is a King Jellyjam before the actual King Jellyjam that we see in the horror at Camp Jellyjam. And two of the covers, not the original Tim Jacobus artwork, but the other two covers, one by Brandon Dorman and the one for the French Goosebumps covers, we can see in these two covers a very different King Jellyjam. First, take a look at the reprint cover. According to the horror at Camp Jellyjam, King Jellyjam was not able to, turn on the hose to wash himself and not even barely even pick up a human while they're laying on the ground. Then how in this Goosebumps reprint artwork is he holding a mop? It just doesn't really make sense. It's not a huge piece of evidence, and I'm pretty sure that is the original King Jellyjam since he's in the cave, so I don't know if that's evidence, but also take a look at the French cover artwork for the horror Camp Jellyjam. The French cover artwork usually tend to be very different from the actual source material in the book, and so I don't know if that's a huge piece of evidence to prove this theory, but he is obviously bigger than the King Jellyjam that we actually see in the book, so that there is some sort of evidence to support that. But also, there's evidence because of Goosebumps, the game. So I just got this game, and it's overall pretty fun. I love fighting the monsters, stuff like that. I'm stuck at this really, really hard part. But anyway, in the game, basically they have pieces of King Jellyjam as a food product. I know, it's a little strange. So anyway, in the game, basically they have this jar or something in the refrigerator called Jellyjam. And so it seemed, and also in the mall, I guess, I don't know, I haven't got to that point in the game, but according to Goosebumps Wiki, there's this part where you go to a mall, and there's also supposedly pieces of King Jellyjam. So this obviously seems to be a mass-produced item, but King Jellyjam would not be a mass-produced item as his dead body. First off, so the police were everywhere at Camp Jellyjam in the horror at Camp Jellyjam. So how could, they sell that as a mass-produced item? First off, there'd be a very limited amount. And so how could they get a mass-produced item? Second off, they probably wouldn't be able to use King Jellyjam's remains as a food, a mass-produced food item. Because, first off, he was created, I think I said first off a lot, and second off, I'm sorry guys. So, anyway, so he was created, he died. No, he created, I'm so sorry guys. So, anyway, he was created in a radiation-filled cave. Radiation, wouldn't be safe to eat, so I doubt the police would, use that as a reliable food source and, make that a food thing. It just wouldn't make sense. Also, the horror, Camp Jellyjam is a crime scene. So, I don't know if a policeman's like, oh yeah, let me start this business selling the remains of a giant purple blob monster. It just doesn't seem likely that the remains of the King Jellyjam that we see in the horror Camp Jellyjam actually would work because there wouldn't be enough. It's a crime scene, so they probably wouldn't use that as a mass market food item. So I'm almost 100% sure that the remains of King Jellyjam are not in Goosebumps the game. Then what exactly are these remains then? It's definitely not the remains of King Jellyjam. That means there has to be more body parts of King Jellyjam all across the world, of the original King Jellyjam before the actual King Jellyjam that we see in the horror at Camp Jellyjam. And also there's evidence to prove this in the Knight in Screaming Armor Give Yourself Goosebumps book. I have not read this book, but according to Goosebumps Wiki, King Jellyjam appears in this book and is in a completely different place from Camp Jellyjam, unaccompanied by anyone who with a water hose or anything to clean him. So there's got to be some explanation for this. It can't be the original King Jellyjam, first off, because the original King Jellyjam, I guess, is dead. But ignoring that, he would need someone to clean him all the way to get from Camp Jellyjam to wherever he is in the Knight in Screaming Armor. So, I think there are multiple King Jellyjam out there in the world, and they all came from the original King Jellyjam. And yeah, that's my theory for today, guys. So in case, this was a pretty long video, so in case you need a refresher, so here's my whole theory in a nutshell. So there's the original King Jellyjam. He mind controlled all the counselors and the campers and stuff, and basically he came up with a plan to, I guess, rule the world. I don't know. And so basically he split himself apart and sent his body parts all across the world. And so one of his mind-controlled people put one of his body parts inside a radiation-filled cave, and that created the King Jellyjam that we see in the horror at Camp Jellyjam. And he sent the other pieces of him across the world, sold as a mass-market food item, and also he sent it, in several different places, thus creating what we know today as King Jellyjam. Also, there's others in the one in the Knight in Screaming Armor. And so anyway, guys, that's my theory for today. I'm sorry I haven't been uploading at a steady pace. Been a little busy, but yeah, that's the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.